Hello and welcome back to the Weird and Proud podcast. It's Sam and
James. My voice
Whoa.
was a little scratchy.
Whoa,
Thought I-
got a frog in your throat?
Thought I'd give a whole clear for everyone.
Yeah,
there.
that was, I'm sure everyone has really enjoyed that. Thank you. Thank you from the audience to you.
Of course. I want everyone to feel included.
They feel very included. Hi, everybody. Happy almost end of July-ish, kind of. Hope you're having a great week so far, whenever you're listening to this, wherever you're listening to this. We have a really good episode today.
I'm very excited about the format.
Yeah, we're doing something a little crazy. Well, not too crazy. But I have a list of like these topics, of course, like weird topics. And I thought today we do a mix up. We are going to do some of the weirdest rabbit holes that I found in my research. Okay.
This sounds fun. Oh,
Yeah, like
I like it.
Some little, and like these are rabbit holes that like I've done some light research on, but like I just don't have enough to do like an entire episode on it. But we're gonna do like 3 of the weirdest rabbit holes I've seen on the internet.
I think I love that.
That I bet you guys, even if you're the rabbitiest, even if you're a little thumper rabbit, I bet you have not been down this hole. But you haven't been down my hole. But you haven't been down this gape hole. So suit up, rabbits. It's time to jump in.
The gape searching for gapes.
So we have 3 topics that we're going to discuss. And again, I bet you guys have never heard of this, but you're going to be like, what?
What if they have heard of it?
I will be extremely shocked. If you guys have heard of any of these, if you're like deep Reddit people, because some of these I found in Reddit, like some Reddit little threads that like.
So the New York Post of social blogs.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the highest credentials.
Bunch
places.
of fake news going around.
Yeah.
Love it.
If you're a Reddit person, or again, like if you really enjoy a rabbit hole, maybe, but I don't know. I will be really shocked. If some of you guys have heard of this, you'll have to let me know. But we have some rabbit holes, and then you are gonna discuss, and I might leave it as, I'm gonna leave it because it's kind of related to.
Don't tell
Actually, you know what? No, I am. I'm gonna say it.
Why would you do that?
I'm saying it. He's gonna talk about the Mandela effect.
Sorry. Are you sure you said that right, or did you misremember it?
The Mandela effect. Melanin. No, I'm just in a silly, goofy mood. It's just been a silly, goofy day. So, and of course we have secrets, of course, and we have a little bit. We have a little bit of mix of secrets today. So just an overall great show. And before we jump in, real quick, if I may have your attention. Number 1, I'm going to put this at the beginning of this episode because I feel like a lot of people check out after the last secret. So if you could please, pretty please, this would be like giving us a tip. You listen to the podcast and you're like, you know what, that was good. That was entertaining. I want to give them a tip. You can give us a tip and you don't have to pay any money. All you have to do is go to the app wherever you're listening to this and give this a 5-star, even 4-star. I'll take 4 stars.
Just be honest.
Yeah, just be honest. I mean, not too honest. I mean, I know you guys aren't afraid to be honest, but if you give it a 5-star, also just make sure you're subscribing. So if you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, Amazon, Jeffrey Bezos, butthole,
you can unsubscribe later if you need to. That's fine.
If you need to
later on, it's not
understand.
like you're not like subscribed for life,
right?
Here.
No, this isn't like a lifetime commitment, but like if you could, that would mean the world. Or if you're on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. That would mean the absolute world to us. And that means, like, just look at James. Like, look at him in the eye and tell him you wouldn't want to give him 5 stars. Like that's what you're doing. You're literally looking James in the eye and you're saying, you know what? Look at those eyes. Look at them.
I suddenly feel bad about myself.
Feel a little tear. Yeah, he feels bad about himself, you guys. No, but that really would mean a lot. It seems silly, but like you have no idea. It helps so much with just getting more people to listen, and again, eventually being able to update some of this equipment would be ideal. Also, really another quick thing before we dive in, we have some shows coming up, and I even have them on a little note.
You
What
put
do you
things
think
on a
about
note
that?
card.
Yeah, because
Wow.
I'm way too dyslexic. I get
We
all
are
the dates. I've like
fancy.
posted wrong dates. Like I just the worst. Okay, so coming up, we're gonna be in Southampton. We're gonna be in the Hamptons this weekend, and you might be thinking, "Wow, lavish, rich, so rich." We're staying in a tent, okay, and it was still like $300 a night
But
to
it's a
sleep in a tent.
Hamptons tent.
But it's a
Like it's
Hamptons
sealed
tent.
and it has air conditioning. We're not staying in
By
a
the way,
tent.
it's not air conditioning. I know.
There's not?
No,
Oh.
it's a tent. Sorry, James. If you wanted to, I don't know. So we're gonna be in the Hamptons. We're gonna be performing. James basically performs. Friday night, August 2nd in Southampton at Main Prospect at 8 p.m. Then we're going to Pennsylvania, Pottstown, a gorgeous, gorgeous, exotic place. We're gonna be performing at Soul Joe's August 7th. I think that's a Wednesday, I believe, 8 p.m. And then exciting things, you guys. We're gonna be at McGuire's. Where is that? McGuire. Oh, Long Island. Oh my God. I literally just wrote McGuire's. I'm like, crap, where is that
I
again?
was just gonna say,
We're
I'm
going
like,
back to Long Island. Like literally, we love Long Island.
I
We're
do love
Long
Long
Island
Island.
people. McGuire's October 10th, 8 p.m. We're gonna be at Helium in Philly on October 13th, 8 p.m. And then we're also gonna be in Maryland in November 21st, 7:30 at Magoobies, right out, kind of outside of Baltimore. So get your tickets, SamanthaRamsell.com/events. It's gonna be weird. And if you like this and if you like what we're doing, you're gonna like it. I promise. If money back guarantee, I will put my money on it. If you really are like, want my money back, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
James will give it to you.
We'll unsubscribe you.
Yeah, you can unsubscribe. You can unfollow. Okay. Now that that's out of the way, just a little housekeeping. It's time to dive in because we have quite the episode, and I'm excited to talk about this. Okay. So again, I love a rabbit hole. If there's something about me, I love a rabbit hole. And the first rabbit hole that we're going to talk about, quite possibly one of the weirdest, and just like also you find some disturbing stuff in this rabbit hole, thrift store discoveries. Okay. So this was like a really big thing on Reddit about weird things that people find at thrift stores. Okay. And this, like, even if you like go to think about it, like, yeah, when you drop stuff off at like a thrift store, you're going to donate stuff, like, they don't go through the bag. And like sometimes, like, I'm going to be honest, like, I throw stuff in there that I'm like, this is probably going to be thrown out.
There's no way they could use this.
Yeah. So, they get some weird stuff. And then they, like, a lot of times they do just like, well, if it's at least functioning, they'll put it for sale. I mean, even if it's $1, a dollar's a dollar. So I found some of the craziest, these were technically Goodwill finds from people around the country. Okay. I don't know if any of you guys have also gone down this rabbit hole, but this was a really big deal. This was like in 2013. It was somewhere in Washington State. There was a thread that someone had posted saying, hey, I went to my local Goodwill. I got a photo album. It looked like there was nothing in there. But then once I got home, I went to the back and there was this photo that I didn't notice before. And it's a very, like, kind of a disturbing photo if it is what it actually is. But it's basically this river. And one man, he like looks almost like late 20s. He has his arms tied behind his back. He's in the river, like up to his waist. His arms are tied behind his back and he looks like scared and like looks like he's, just kind of like almost been abused in some way. Like he just looks, timid, if you will. And in the river next to him is another man face down in the river with his arms tied behind his back and his feet tied together. And then the way the picture is taken, it's like the sun is in the back. So there's a shadow that's being cast. And the shadow shows that there's someone holding a gun, like pointing it at the river.
Oh, Jesus.
Right? So
That's cryptic as hell.
right. So this woman, like, it's bizarre. And what I'll do too is because a couple of these are photos, I will post these on Instagram. I have screenshots of them. So I will post them on Instagram. So by the time this podcast is out, you can go on my Instagram on the Weird and Proud Pod Instagram, and you can see these photos. But it was like, one of those things where obviously it blew up on Reddit and everyone was like, what the hell? That's so crazy. To the point where she did go to the police, but it really was like a dead end. Like they couldn't find like who, like it's like, what are you going to do with a photo? There's no, nothing really attached to it that you can find someone with that. You know what I mean? But some people weighed in, like some people are like, well, maybe it's like, some sort of military training. Maybe someone was like, maybe it's like a frat hazing, and a lot of people too were like, well, when I was young, like we would take a bunch of weird photos too as a joke. It might not be what we think it is, but of course some people are like, well, it looks like that person is, deceased in the water and there's someone with a gun. Like it'd be hard to like it didn't look like it was like an aesthetic photo, like someone was posing for something. It was like
Did any of these internet crime sleuths like dive
no,
in
because there
more?
was just nothing else to go off of it. So a lot of people were trying to come up and like find these people, like because you can see one of the guys, but it's his profile, and it does look like an older photo,
No, it's like, is it worth fingerprinting this stuff? Like, grab the
right?
whole thing and fingerprint it. And that girl's and the pawn shop owner's fingerprints don't matter. Are there other fingerprints? Like,
Yeah,
how old is the photo? Can you age it? Can you figure out what
yeah.
it
Well, I
is?
think the police were just like, w- you know, there's no other evidence found. It was kind of like, yeah, it's a photo, but again, it could be anything. This really doesn't prove, his
No,
worth.
of course it doesn't.
But then, of course, there were other people who sent in other weird things that they found at thrift stores. Okay. So, one person bought a 1940 sedan electroshock therapy system. Sedan, I think it was Seiken. I think it was just, sorry. It was just like an auto correct. I remember it was Seiken, which was like one of the first electroshock therapy machines that was used for treatment of depression and schizophrenia. Like
Okay.
someone just bought that
That was
at a
in,
Goodwill.
okay.
Like wild. Someone else, a baby doll with human hair.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
this was also crazy. This was another like little rabbit hole on top of this, but someone bought a camera. So this girl had posted the story, and this again was on Reddit. And again, they're pretty much anonymous, when you're posting on Reddit. It's one of those things where that's why it is such a wild, wild west, because it's really hard to prove any of these things. But this girl wrote on Reddit that she found a camera at Goodwill. She lives in Arizona, and she bought this camera. And when she got home, she noticed there was an old SIM card inside of it. And apparently, there are lots of stories like this. But she said she put it on her computer and downloaded the photos. And she has not seen her dad since she was a little girl. He left when she was really young and moved to Idaho. And on the SIM card, there were photos, like headshots of her dad.
Oh, wow.
Right? And
That's
she's not even
spooky.
right? And she's not even in contact with him anymore. She just knows that he like lives in Idaho somewhere.
And she just
Like knows
happened to
like what he
pick
looks
that
like.
up at the thrift store.
Yeah.
That's
A
spooky.
lot of people like this. This was another one that a woman said that she found a wedding album, a lot of like pictures, stuff like that. And she brought it home. It was a pretty album, and then she was looking through, and it was photos of a wedding that she had been to, and there was photos of her and her husband in the album.
That's like this. You
Yeah,
buy
like
that
how
randomly.
crazy. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, I mean, not that this happens often, but like I'm curious if there's any of you guys out there, what's the weirdest thing you found at a thrift shop? Because apparently, like this is like someone else had wrote too that they found like a real human skull in 2003 in a box, and they ended up like they obviously reported to the police, and the police looked into it like, okay, yeah, this is obviously a human skull. The person had died of natural causes and was buried and had a gravesite and everything, and somehow like
The skull still showed up.
yeah,
You know what would be another interesting one to look up?
What?
Some of these storage containers that go expired. Like people have
Oh,
found really weird stuff in there too. Another
totally.
rabbit hole to go down.
Totally. Yeah, storage. There were some good stories too that I had read on that. There was like a YouTube channel. I forget too. There was almost like a reality show. What was it? Wasn't there
I
like some
think there's
show?
Storage Wars.
Storage
Is
Wars.
that it? Yeah.
Yes, like they would find creepy stuff, but it was obviously nothing to this level. But yeah, yeah, storage places are creepy. I
Yeah.
bet a lot of really, really sketchy shit goes on at
Oh,
storage
absolutely.
centers. What's there? If you don't use a storage center, you don't have anything in a storage center now, do you?
No.
We should go check it out.
I've
Listen for
used, I mean,
sounds.
there's over time, like when I was in college, I've used them
Yeah.
and stuff.
I don't think I've ever been in a storage center.
A storage unit?
Yeah.
Never had to use one.
No.
No.
Something fun about me. Fun fact about me. All right, you ready for the next one?
Yes.
All right, I'm curious. I was gonna like mention these to you, but I'm curious if you've heard of this. Have you heard of UVB 76?
No.
Okay. So this is a rabbit hole, okay, about a Russian shortwave radio station. Stick with me here, okay? So in the 1970s, there was a radio station that was discovered, basically like a frequency of a radio that someone found, and it was on 1625 hertz and 24 hours a day, nonstop. It would play almost like it sounded like a foghorn, but they say it played 25 tones per minute, whatever that means. But it literally like
It's not a bad foghorn.
right?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And randomly people would listen in and randomly they could hear like Russians talking and like in code. You know, like they would just say like random names, random numbers. And it kind of went viral online, you know, as like, what is this? Does anyone know what this is? And even like to this day, you can still hear it. And at first, like it had gone because it was like conspiracy, like are the Russians like trying to manipulate, you know, over the radio frequency
That no one
somehow
listens
that
to.
no one listens to. Like is it, you know, like is there something important in the code? Like is it someone who's stuck and trying to tell the people something?
Sounds more like a submarine.
Well, hold on, hold tight. Some people think it's for spy communication or like Russian military drills. But like apparently someone in 2010 found like somehow where this radio station was and like broke into it at night and took all these photos of it, and it's just like a creepy looking, it has like a lot of these like rooms that almost look like interrogation rooms, you know,
Okay.
like where like people would be brought if they were
Like a bunker?
like a bunker. Yes. It had a ton of security. It just like didn't look like a normal, like what a radio station would look like, and I'll post some photos of that too. But you know, again, it had a lot of people talking, and it was just a bizarre
What's the station again?
1625 hertz, but it was called UVB 76. I don't know if that was like the name of the radio station.
Sounds like the name of the radio station.
Yeah, I think that's what the name of the radio.
1625 hertz is an AM station.
Yeah.
So can you hear it over here in this country? Doubtful.
I don't know. No, you can't. No.
But they were picking it up online.
Yeah, somehow
Okay.
they were able to listen to it online. And obviously you could hear it in Russia too. But
was it from like a ham radio frequency?
What is that? Ham? No, I think it was a pork or cheese.
Oh boy.
But you know, like the Russians are talking to each other, like, you know, again, like if it's a spy, like that's the way that they talk to people. But that was like a really weird rabbit hole that I had never heard of.
That's extremely
And again, there's a lot of like radio talk and like, you know, there's
See,
frequencies that they send
that's
out.
weird as hell. And
Isn't that
totally,
weird?
and and nobody knows what
And
it
it's
is.
still to this day from the 70s and now to this day, like however you listen to radio, you can go on. If you just look up UVB 76, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, that's like the, I don't know, however you find it. But just kind of crazy and bring, justice for the radio. I, you know,
You still listen to the radio in your car.
I do sometimes, but it's more when I'm too lazy to find a podcast. If it's a short trip, and normally I just keep the volume down, like these people be talking nonsense. Also, like it is like I'm just from being in the entertainment business, I'm just so scarred because all most of them are just like these game shows, like because when I'm going to the gym in the morning or when I'm driving in the morning, it's when I'm listening to the radio station, it's all those fake scripted shows,
Oh yeah, you've done
and
those.
I'm jaded. I can't listen to them. But no, once in a while I like a radio, but I just feel like they should, like what happened to radios? I hope they're okay. I'm thinking of you, radios, wherever you are, radios. I'm thinking of you. I hope you're doing okay. Okay. Are you ready for the third deep,
Can't wait.
scary rabbit hole? Okay. And actually, I think I did mention this to you slightly in passing, but Dovland, Wisconsin.
You did.
Because I was like, have you even heard of this place? But we didn't get into why I asked you. So, Wisconsiners, near and far, Midwesterners, I need to know if you've heard of this place. So, there is a big conspiracy, big rabbit hole around Dublin, Wisconsin. Okay. Did I tell you? Had you, like, I can't remember what you said.
So I've heard of it. It's the question is, did the town ever? Am I giving it away if I say it?
Did it ever exist?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, this is very, we've talked about a couple other like abandoned towns and
This is
abandoned
very much in
places.
the potential abandoned
Potential,
town genre.
But the thing is like there's it really and let me just what if I just shut up, well not shut up, and got into it. Okay, so in the 1970s, Dublin, Wisconsin was apparently a small town that housed hundreds of military families, and it was built for a project called Project Sanguine by the government. Okay, apparently this is in northwest Wisconsin, and again, what's weird about this is like now like there's really no map, like I can't find even like really where it is. I'd have to do like a really deep dive, but I'm hoping. Yeah, James, text.
I grew up in Northwest Wisconsin, and that's
Well, I
why I
know
know
that's
where it
why.
is. But the thing is, I've heard it. I don't know where it was supposedly located.
Yeah,
So
but it is. Anyways, okay. So if you like, know about like the government around the 1970s, right? It was like all like nuclear, bombs, things against Russia. We were looking into nuclear weapons. And there was this project, Project Sanguine, that was proposed in 1968 that was supposed to improve communication with military bases and also apparently like the idea was that they were going to build this communication system underground in a large area, and it would help communicate with submarines that were underwater. um and it was apparently like supposed to survive nuclear attacks, but there was also some rumors and gossip that this Dublin, Wisconsin was also, they were doing like some nuclear testing there. There's you know, some other things going on there that they weren't telling. And originally, they wanted to build these cables underground for this underground communication system. And they wanted it to be the government or whoever was, a segment of the government wanted it to be like 6,000 miles wide. And this is actually a real thing. Like, if you look up Project Sanguine, that was like an original idea that they had. So that is a real thing. But 6,000 mile radius is like almost like 2/5 of the state. Like it's almost half the state of Wisconsin. So of course it was super controversial, and they ended up scrapping the idea because of course all these people in Wisconsin were like, you're doing what underneath the ground for 2/5 the state? So instead of that, they made like a smaller modified system based off of this same idea, and it was in the northwest Wisconsin, and they called it Doveland. What's your research saying, James?
So I keep going. I'll let you know.
Well, everything, and this is the thing, is it's a lot of hearsay, it's a lot of my family, it's a lot of my dad, my grandfather. Until like the 1990s, the town was supposedly thriving, but right around the early 1990s, the town was wiped off the map, completely gone. Apparently, it was, you can't find it on a map. Like, even that's why, like, I'm having, like, for James to look it up, like, it literally, like, doesn't exist. But again, there are, of course, lots of Reddit threads. There are lots of vlogs and like online forums of people claiming they lived here, claiming they had family that lived here. And yes, it was a military base. And yes, they were doing testing on long form communication. And yes, they may have been doing some nuclear testing. And there was even a photo that went like somewhat viral, I think, especially along in Reddit on this thread. And it's like of a man and a woman and a kid sitting at a restaurant in Loveland or Dublin. I keep calling it Loveland because I think they're, anyways, Dublin. And that's like supposed like some of the best evidence. Like, there really isn't, other than like these photos that they're like, yeah, it could be Dublin, but it also could just be a random town. Also, some, like, someone said that they found merchandise, like shirts that said Dublin on them. But again, they can't really prove that it actually came from there. Like, could have someone just kind of made it as a joke? But of course, one of the biggest conspiracies about this town is there was some sort of freak accident during this military testing, and it shifted the town into another dimension. So like that's
Of
why the town
course.
is like, just, you can't even find anything on it. Or, someone else says, maybe there also was something where like they had to evacuate the place really, really quickly. Like something happened, or, and also there are rumors that, something bad did happen there and the government covered it up by flooding the town. So now apparently if you do go to find it, it's like under a lake.
Due to damming, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. I mean,
Yeah.
there's one right here in Stanford that town
I know. Well,
disappeared due to damming.
that's the other thing too,
Same
is
thing.
there also is, I mean, I'm like obsessed with like the idea, and I think I've talked about this a lot, but like abandoned towns, ghost towns, and there's even one in Stanford where we live that was like, and I had done a bunch of research on it, but I'm like, there's so many of these towns, like Lake Lanier, obviously is a big famous one, where they were like, it was like in North Stanford in our town, and they were really like a basket building village.
Yeah, and it
Like
was
they,
before Stanford was really
a big city.
over
This was
in
like in
that
the
area.
17, like, wasn't it like
1800s,
maybe
I
like
think.
early
Yeah.
1800s? It was like either like late 1700s. Like it was, long time ago. But now the town is flooded. They had to build a dam, and it's now flooded. But like, if there's like days where we haven't had rain in a long time, especially like, I was thinking it was like one of those last days where it wasn't rain. Like, we should go see if you can see it.
Yeah.
You can see parts of the buildings that stick out.
Yeah.
Which is like, I don't know, I think it's pretty cool. So just to wrap up Dublin, there's also this idea, and this is how this all ties together into James' segment, about the Mandela effect, because they think that someone, like Dublin is kind of like a popular name of a like, even I was like getting messed. I'm like, Loveland, it's kind of one of those names that sticks out where someone maybe thought that they heard. There's also Dublin,
There is absolutely a
Wisconsin.
Dublin, Wisconsin.
So they're like, maybe people are just getting that confused, but a lot of people are like, no, this town literally didn't exist. But also, it's just like a weird thing to make up, and like, it's like, do people like really, like a group of people come together and be like, okay, we're all going to go on the internet and say that, yes, we have family that came from this town and it did exist. Let's just make up a fake town, like, do people really have that much time on their hands? I mean, I don't know. I'm talking about it, but
People think that the world is flat.
that's true. That's true. So it's just one of those rabbit holes that, like, and you really can't find much info about it, like, online. Like, it's, unless you're like on Reddit, or like, or other like conspiracy pages,
Places where
real news
Yeah.
goes.
to be overly critical.
Right, exactly. So yeah, so some people are thinking maybe, again, once enough collective people are kind of like, yeah, maybe I did, then you're like, yeah, I've heard, like even when I first said it to you, but I'm like, did you really know? Or do you just think you know?
I
Which,
know the photo that you're talking about.
do
It's
you?
like a red. They're in a booth and they're in
Yes.
red. Yeah, I know what you're talking
Yes.
about.
Yes. Yes. Apparently, like there's like in text, like in the back, you can see like Dublin restaurant or something like that.
And there's other parts to that could be connected because the parts of Wisconsin that they're talking about where it could be,
Yeah.
there are some very big, important military bases in that area.
Right.
Like huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that area of Wisconsin also has a lot of underground caves and things like that. So
Okay.
it is possible to have underground
Yeah.
pathways.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went and looked at these. We used to go to that area for field trips to go see the caves and stuff like that. There's a big
Really?
area
They
called
brought you to
Crystal
the
Caves.
caves?
Yeah, of course, Crystal Caves.
Oh, the crystal caves.
Yeah, we drove through it.
Caves are
I
scary.
know I would never take you there
No,
exactly
get
because
me
you're
away from a
terrified.
cave.
Yeah, you would never go there.
Yeah, I'm all set. I'm
But
all set. Whatever
yeah, so
lies under there.
the elements of that story do really
Yeah.
exist.
Right. That's why it's like, again, like, was it just a story that's been passed on, like a folklore? And does it actually exist or does it, or was it all just folklore? Kind of crazy. What do you think? What do you think, my rabbits? What do you guys think? Have any of you guys
love
heard
the
of
rabbit
those?
holes.
I need to know if you've heard of any of those or if you have any thoughts.
Look them up. I loved the
Yeah, if you have any thoughts, if you've heard of some of these and you're like, wait, I've heard this take, or if you've seen something weird at a thrift store or whatever.
the idea of the thrift stores and extensions of places where you like estate sales or other places that you can find weird things. Like there's got to be there's been so many weird things over time that's been found from that.
Yeah. No, totally. No, I follow this girl who like is obsessed with ghosts and like dead stuff. She's like very goth persona.
Yep.
And she like goes out looking for like weird like death related stuff. Like she's like bought a coffin at an estate sale. Like she's bought like old antique, like a lot of times too, like old paintings would like either have like a lock of hair in it, or a lot of times they would use like
parts of
body
the person.
parts. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I feel like that has a lot of probably spooky energy attached to it, but that's just me. All right, James. So speaking of the Mandela effect, like what, like there was this thing too that I feel like, again, if you're chronically online, there's always like these posts that go viral that are like Mandela effect. What do you remember? And it's always like Fruit of the Loom, and it's like one that is the original and then one that's a little bit different. And like for some reason, we're always called to like choose the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times when you are certain songs, or they also say that it's a lot to like even like lines in movies.
Yep.
That people be like, I swore they said something else. So it's like, why do we do that, James?
I did take a deep dive on this, and I've seen some of these examples over time, right? I've seen the Star Wars one is really popular, where it's Luke, I am your father.
Yeah.
Right? So in Star Wars, the famous line in the first one in 1977, this threw everyone for a loop. Yep. It was the biggest twist and probably one of the biggest movie openings of all time, where Darth Vader tells Luke that he is his father. Yep. No one sees it coming. Like no one would have seen that coming, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's bigger than the M. Night Shyamalan twist in The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
And when he says, he doesn't say, Luke says, you killed my father. And he says, no, I am your father. Most people remember it as, Luke, I am your father.
And it's no, I am your
father.
No,
I am your father. So yeah, that's how most people remember it. You would have probably said,
I would have said, Luke, I am your
father. If I were to test you.
Yeah.
All right, I have a test for you. Do you want to do a test?
Yeah. Let's do it.
I'm going to give you a line from a movie, and I hope that you know this movie. Okay. I think you'll remember it. And I'm going to try to do it in the actor's voice. It was a comedy. And I'm just going to say, and you must be the Monopoly guy. Do you know what movie that's from?
No.
Okay, this has nothing to do with the Mandela effect. I wanted to see if you knew that movie.
Are you stupid?
It's from Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls.
Okay.
All right. So, but that scene is that movie. You've never seen Ace Ventura?
Yeah, I have, but I guess that I don't remember that scene.
So
like
it's
that.
He's
that
at the big party.
Okay.
This guy comes walking down, and he's like, it's over the top comical, where the guy is wearing like a top hat, and has a cane, and is all dressed up in like a tuxedo with the frills in the back, or the whatever they're called, the lapels.
Yeah.
Okay. and he says, "You must be the Monopoly guy." Jim Carrey like picks him up and goes around the room, right? He's trying to save the
Yeah.
animals. And the guy has like a monocle and all this stuff.
Okay.
All right, here's why I'm bringing up this whole stupid story to help describe the Mandela effect. Another example in the Mandela effect was, does the Monopoly guy have a monocle or not?
Okay.
Like, you know what a monocle is?
Yeah, like the
The one,
little
yep,
the
yep,
one
yep.
eye
Do you think that,
glass.
so do you think the Monopoly guy has a monocle?
I would think. Yeah, I would
Does not.
guess.
And that's another
Oh.
common one in the Mandela effect.
So why is that?
So here's where, do you want to hear the actual reasons, or do you want to hear James's stupid theory?
I want to hear both.
Okay, we'll start with the actual reasons.
Okay.
So a lot of these studies did come from the idea, the Dr. Broom, I believe her name was. Again,
Yep.
I might be Mandela affecting the name.
Yeah.
I could look it up and just say what it is, but we can all look it up.
Yeah.
So the idea was that she misremembered, which when I heard this, I shouldn't say this part. I just thought it was ridiculous because Nelson Mandela did not die in jail. Like, it's well known he got out of jail. It was one of the most important parts of apartheid. Like, it's historical fact.
Yeah, yeah.
What the Mandela effect did come from.
I was wondering if it came from him.
It is. It's
yeah.
from Nelson Mandela. She thought, she was like, I'm sure he died.
Oh.
And then other people had also misremembered the same thing. Like, they're like, well, we thought he died, right?
Yeah.
And this does, when I was diving into this, I wanted to see, okay, what's the actual psychological background to this?
Yeah.
Or is this a modern day theory, right?
Right.
The actual Mandela effect seems to be very much a modern day theory based around common either entertainment, like we've already done movie quotes. We did the Monopoly guy.
Yeah.
Common entertainment and or
pop culture
type
things.
stuff. Like, do you remember the books Curious George?
Yeah.
Does he have a tail? He's a monkey.
Of course.
He does not.
What? That's fucked. They cut off his tail.
Well, no, he's
Animal
wearing
abuse.
pants. He has his little yellow
he
thing
has
on.
pants.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah, that is just funny. Like, maybe it's just a memory. Like, maybe we all just like suck at remembering things.
So it isn't that we suck at remembering things. It's, I'm going to say a word, and I want you to say the first word you think of.
Okay.
Grass.
Green.
Simple, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is your brain neurologically is wired to things associated with something that you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Right? That's part of it. There's a bunch of theories behind it, and I want you to ask me some questions about it too, or what you've heard about it. But that seems to be the heart of it. Now, there's also, I'm going to dive into something I really enjoy that I brought up before. One of my favorite studies is cross-cultural psychology, or the idea that different cultures of people, even though they probably never communicated, had a lot of the same thoughts, theories, right? Yeah. So let's go back to some of the other crazy stuff I've talked about. Some of the abandoned cultures, the Mayans.
Yep.
Right? In Turkey, when they discovered Göbekli Tepe, which is probably the oldest potentially form of civilization.
Yep.
Right? They all had these different ideas about serpents or things in space. And but then also Stonehenge, the Egyptian pyramids, Machu Picchu, like all of these major archaeological, like ancient civilization, the monuments they built were all centered around the sun and the equinox.
Yeah.
Right? They all look for that peak of the sun. None of these people could have ever communicated, yet they did. Now, there are theories of ancient aliens that came down and taught us all this. That's a bunch of hooey. And the thing is we do have a collective human unconscious. We mentioned on an earlier podcast about potentially we came from probably a few hundred people that ended up surviving during a ice age.
Yep.
And that's only that 10,000 years ago.
Right.
Our brain's ability to remember and make connections, while it seems so diverse, are very similar.
Yeah.
The actions we take make us different. Jeff Bezos taking action on what he wanted to do made him Amazon. Well, we have our podcast. Different, right?
Yeah, no, it's basically the same.
But it's basically the same thing. But in that realm of humanity, our brain patterns work in similar ways.
Yeah, no, that's
when you
true.
say when I say green, when I say grass, I even misremembered. I said green. I just, right? I even said the wrong thing.
Yeah.
That is partly how we're associated. So the Mandela effect comes somewhere from common people misremembering something. And the reason I'm saying all this, I wanted to start with the cross-cultural idea that we still do things in similar ways because we're still all human, right?
We still all have.
Now, so many of these are internet based, or Monopoly's obviously not internet based. Monopoly's
Right.
way before
Yeah.
the internet. But so many of these do have the idea of pop culture
Yeah.
that I wonder, James's crazy theory, is how much of the similarities in things in pop culture have shaped our minds to misremember these things, because we're all seeing the same stuff, whether we want to
Well,
remember it
that's
or
what's
not.
always weird is that we all misremembered it. And it's like, wait,
But then the
Or
reason
w
I
yeah.
use the stupid idea of Ace Ventura: Pet Detective
Yep.
is there's a lot of people, I remember that quote being very funny and a lot of people quoting that movie.
Yeah.
You must be the Monopoly guy.
Yeah. Well,
And
even like the Luke, I am your father. It's like,
he has a monocle in that movie, Ace Ventura, even though the Monopoly guy
does
doesn't.
not. Yeah.
So does our brain associate something that simple with that?
Totally. Is it
right?
from that movie that now we think of that? Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of other theories behind this Mandela effect and why. It seems to be the simplest answer is really correct. Occam's razor, right?
Yeah.
It's that, there's other patterns out there that have not been. This one wasn't even in what the article I was reading. This is just the James crazy part. So this is the weird
James
part of
crazy
James.
part.
Is it's there has to be some kind of commonality out there that's helping us to misremember some of these things.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
When you brought up the fruit of the loom, they talked about a cornucopia.
Right.
It's a cornucopia is that thing you would see at a Thanksgiving plate where it's an old basket.
Yep.
Right. They even tested that where they gave people another fake fruit of the loom emblem where the fruit was on a plate. And a plate would be much more common in modern day. You're not going to go to you're not going to your friend's party and there's a cornucopia of fruit.
No, by the way, we need a cornucopia.
We do need to get one. And you're not going to find that, but you would see plate on a fruit.
Yeah.
But that was too common. Some of these are, the plate was too common, but people still got it wrong doing the cornucopia.
Yeah. Huh.
So
it's so fascinating.
I think it's very much connected to this. It's very much connected to just us being humans and making mistakes. But I want to know more about what's stimulating these mistakes, because if they are that common, there's a reason. There's a bigger reason behind it.
Now, do you want Sam's crazy explanation?
Yep. Or questions you have.
Is that we all come from different parallel universes and different simulations. And so that's why, like, they've, like, it's the government and the big monies and the corporate.
So may I pose a scenario? Are all movies the same?
I want to know if, like, what I'm looking at right now, if you actually see that.
Yeah. That's the question I'm asking.
Right.
Are all movies the same or are movies different?
I don't know, man. I gotta smoke a blunt and I'll tell you in 10 minutes.
The idea of parallel universes exists, of course, in our mind because it's very easy to think about, and we've seen movies about it.
Every one is
in theoretical physics, in quantum physics, which is one of the common beliefs, it can exist and probably in some form does. Yeah. But back to the idea of aliens. The idea of life on another planet might just be a one-celled organism at the bottom of a frozen ocean somewhere that's a moon of Jupiter, right? And so that idea can exist, but right here on in our planet, when somebody has the idea of a movie, we were talking about the movie Inception today, and I already brought up Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Yep.
Both very different movies, but they follow a similar storyline if you really think about it.
Yep.
There's 3 acts to it. You can break it down in very similar ways, right? So are those really parallel universes, or are they existing at the same time?
Whoa. Ew. I don't know, James. My brain hurts.
That's the point of James's Science Corner.
That's a lot to think about, James. Okay.
The Mandela effect's very interesting.
But it is, I just think it's fascinating. It just, it is always one of those weird things your brain does. It's the same thing it always reminded me too of, like, same idea. Like, we had done this in a psychology class where, like, randomly someone just walked into the room and, like, just either, like, dropped off a cup or, like, put something down and then walked out. And then the professor would be like, okay, what color shirt was that guy wearing? Or can you guys describe what that person, and every person describes it differently.
Yep.
You know, or like people are like, oh, I think it was a yellow shirt, or I think it was, you know, it's like, oh, we all like, how crazy is that? Like we saw it differently, or it's just how you remember back, you
You
know?
might answer differently. Say that the person in the front row said yellow shirt,
Yeah.
but that person was an X or
Right,
someone
right,
that you
right.
asked out that you might naturally now not see a yellow shirt, even if it was
Right. Yeah, someone's like,
because
"Oh,
of
he's
your
cute," or "She's cute," you
Yep.
know, in the way that they look at that person. Yeah, totally.
So they did talk about that same thing. Actually, it's funny you bring that up with and this to me that one of the, and I didn't even bring it up, but one of the first things that was in my head was the idea of like witness testimony for anything.
Totally. Yeah, yeah.
And there are people that have more familiar faces. There are
Right.
people out there that get all the time. I get this some where, and nothing to do with even
Right.
just, oh, James, is you look familiar.
Yeah.
There are people that just have
Yeah.
features that are common to other people.
Yeah.
And that's a test that they're using the Mandela effect for that might help to make sure that there aren't false positives out there
Mm.
in that type of world, which there very much are.
Yeah.
And the
No,
idea
totally.
of how they're changing how police are able or allowed to question people
Yeah.
because they can lead people into saying things that they
Totally. Oh, for sure.
didn't
That's a
know whether they
whole
did.
other
People, yeah,
topic.
that's absolutely part of the Mandela effect
For sure.
because our brains have the ability to make up an answer. And I'll tie it back to Tony Robbins for a second. The strongest force in human nature is the belief in our own identity. And
Yep.
we're going to believe what we thought we saw because that's
Right.
part of us.
Yeah, you don't feel stronger than what you think you
Yeah.
saw, you know, and it's funny that people like fight over, no, that was a red shirt, or no, I swear that was a yellow shirt. No, he was blonde. No, he's brunette. And then it's like, they really think that, but
The best thing that you can do is it comes back to what I think is a firm belief in science. Science is about being right. Science is about exploring. Explore your own beliefs. Explore what you're thinking.
right.
But also explore the sources you're looking at them from. If you're looking at Reddit or New York Post or something that's there to get
Right.
attention, know that you're reading something and that's cool. That's a new idea. I'm not against those things, but then vet out where that idea is coming from.
Right.
I actually went and read the original Mandela effect study to go through this.
I know. Crushed it.
I needed to see it.
Crushed it.
I needed to see what it
to
was.
see it with my own eyes.
I couldn't
That's your
know. I wasn't
perception.
going to
Maybe
talk
you got
about
that
it.
all wrong.
I wasn't going to.
Ooh.
It was from University of Chicago.
Sounds sketchy.
That's not where the actual
Never heard
study
of
was
it.
from. It was a meta-analysis.
Never heard of it. That was gorgeous. Honestly, great discussion. Great commentary.
I know
that was a
way
long
too long
one.
for
I know
James'
we're a
science.
little over time. We're a little over time. But you know what, you guys? Bonus content, I guess. Hopefully that was enlightening.
Look up the Mandela effect. Question
let
yourself.
us know. Let us know if there's something that you feel like, you know, there's something that you always have the Mandela effect about, or, you know, your experience with it. Call us in, because you know what time it is? It's time for secret, 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 saka, 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 sa, 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 sa. Oh, what is that? Oh, that was Paris Hilton. Remember, like Oh, you wouldn't watch that. Sha, 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 sha. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Wait, and
Remember Nikki and they
yeah, of course.
Simple Life, they go
I
sa,
heard
sa,
about
sa,
that. Yeah.
sa, sa, sa. Anyways, sorry guys. Delusion has set in. Okay, you guys, we have some amazing secrets this week. And as a reminder, if you want to call in and give us a weird secret, you can call in too.
SpeakPipe.
That's speakpipe.com/weird and proud pod. Again, speakpipe.com/weird and proud pod. And again, we always throw out topics, obviously, during the episode. We'll be like, hey, you know, something that's related to it. But you can, whatever it is, you know, anything that's weird. We love a paranormal. We love an embarrassing story. We love, you know, a weird vacation. We love anything weird that's weird to you. We want to hear it. Call us in, and we're giving you quite the plethora of weird stuff today. So, James, I'm sorry in advance for this one, but this one is an LOL moment. Here we go.
So I just want to start by saying this isn't meant to be offensive. It's just meant to be funny. So when I was in high school, I was really into this guy, and I make my way over to his house, and things are getting a little hot and heavy, and he pulls down his pants for me to go down on him, and an ungodly smell that I will never forget enters the entire room. I don't know how to describe it. It was just foul. And I look at his dick, and it's like covered in this like thick, yellow, nasty, crusty, and oh my god, the smell. It was rancid. And I'm trying not to be rude so bad, but I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom, throw up, and I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I can't go back in there. The smell was so bad, and I'm so grossed out. And so I ran away from his house. I didn't say anything. I blocked his number and never talked to him again.
Can you even? I mean, this is a unique, like, obviously you've never had to be in that position before. And obviously we've been together 10 plus years at this point. But, you know, there were people, you know, I was a hooker back in my day. Dirty dicks will make you actually, like, there's something you will lose all sense of like yourself. Like, you will lose your ability like to do, just like to feeling like it's like it'll take your breath away.
It's
a dirty dick.
Got it. Yeah.
And especially my number one thing is when I heard this, I was like, okay, did he have an STD? Because of course STDs, like that's really covered in stuff. I'm like, okay,
like if
gross.
There's like
that's an STD, which is like, okay, well, thank God, like you stayed away from that, you know. Not good, but you know, God bless him. Like, throw an antibiotic, like throw the guy a Z-Pack or something.
Like a male yeast infection.
Well, and then my second thought was, you know, this happens specifically with men who are uncircumcised. You know, they forget to wash the wiener. You know, you got like a little cap on your guy. You got to wash your cap.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's the part that no guy should ever forget to wash.
No, I know. Well, that's like, I'm like, you know, if it's really that bad, like you obviously probably went out of your way to not wash your wiener cap.
Like that's, and for guys, like it's under their arms, between the legs, and
no,
sometimes
isn't it
we're
front,
just done.
Back.
Yeah, we're
like,
just done. Like that's it. You wipe it down. We're good.
But like at least get your wiener cup, like your wiener cap. Get your butthole, you dirty mothers. But yeah, that's like again, like it'll, like I will never forget the dirty dicks I've seen. You know, like you never like talk about the Mandela effect. Like I will never forget those dicks.
Burned,
and I remember them. And it was scary and it was spooky, and I don't wish that upon any, and like my worst enemy, for real. But again, no offense. Just wash. Literally, all we're asking
this is
is
a public
wash your dick.
Yeah, public service announcement to
No,
guys.
and it's not like it's that hard. It's right in front of you. You see it. You look down, and it's right there. Just
you're already in the shower.
It's pretty much in the shower. So I'm like, you have to go out of your way to not wash your wiener.
I'd like to hear, like, she was into this guy. Like, what else did she know about him? Did he just not bathe regularly?
Yeah,
like, maybe that was the problem.
Yeah, I know, which is sad, and that's, you know, can normally not be a good sign of things. But, you know, just don't forget, guys, if there's for the 3 men who are probably listening to this, wash your wiener caps. And if you don't have just wash it. Just wash your wiener and your butthole too while you're at it. But I'm sorry you had to go through that, because again, that's something that'll never have the Mandela effect on you, and that will be scarred. All right, now to change gears a little bit, we have a little spooky secret. Okay, here we go.
The last one sounded spooky.
Hey, Sam and James. First, just want to say thank you guys for being so weird and vulnerable and open with your lives. I'm sure I speak for everybody that listens, but like particularly you give me the confidence to be weird and open and just be myself. And I just love you guys. Quick little weird spooky story for you. I was 3 months old and my grandfather was holding me, had a heart attack, ended up passing away. So never met him, truly. And when I was 3 years old, I woke up in the middle of the night singing Ave Maria in French. And meanwhile, my grandfather, my papa, was the only one that spoke French in my family. And my mother, apparently, when she asked me who taught me that song, I said that my papa sang it to me in my sleep. So do with that what you will. But yeah, you can keep this for October, play on the earlier podcast. But yeah, I wanted to call in with my spooky story. Just love you guys. Thank you. Bye.
Right. Creepy. I love those kind of stories that, like, you know, especially kids are obviously, we've talked about how like vulnerable they are when it comes to the supernatural, but you know, like that's a kind of thing that, like, you really can't explain. Like a 3-year-old starts singing in French and she says her pape taught, like, that's cray cray. What do you think,
May I?
James? Yeah, please.
Loved that. Loved The Secret. I hope that the secrets are open for we get to give our own sides of it.
Oh boy.
May I attempt to explain it?
Yeah.
First thing that popped into my head as soon as she said 3 months old, my brain went, well, actual long-term memory doesn't really start till you're 3 years old.
Oh.
Literally 3 years old is about the time that it starts. Now, eating habits and other basic things that we may remember, part of our collective unconscious, part of the unconscious forming at that young age, between the ages of 0 and 2, even before that, are when we set like our eating habits. We've talked about this with your like what you love in food before, right? Those things can sit and be absorbed at that time. So let's also talk about learning a new language. How old do you think language starts in?
No, I'm sure it's like young.
Right around that same time. You start speaking your language around 1. But if you wouldn't know the difference between French, Spanish, other languages at that time, those are the ages when you can become the most bilingual.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not here to prove anything, but
still, like, how if no one else spoke French?
If her grandfather sang to her before she was 3 months old, so again, he was holding her when he died.
I know. Well, I was going to comment on that too. Wait, what? Like, that's crazy.
And she wouldn't know. But again, now here's some of this. Here's the science spooky side. What if because he did pass away, or it's the start of passing away holding her?
Yep.
What if her memory emotionally is connected closer to that? There might be parts of her memory that needed to remember her grandfather. And what if because he sang to her in that language, right?
Yep.
That, an old memory came up in that language and she woke up singing. There are possibilities.
Yeah.
Do that.
Whatever. Loser.
It's the first thing in my head. Sorry for explaining.
Ruin the fun.
That might be potential.
Ruin the fun again. Here comes the fun ruiner.
I think the science side is super fun.
No, I was gonna say that is it. Either way, it is crazy that a 3-year-old was friggin' singing in French.
That's the time you're gonna learn a new language.
Yeah, but like singing a whole song in French is crazy.
But you can sing in Italian.
Yeah,
and you can
barely.
Also sing
I'm 34.
You can also sing in other. You remember songs your dad taught you singing opera in different languages.
Whatever. Shut up. Okay, James. But first of all, too, I wanted to say thank you so much for your sweet words. You're very sweet.
That was amazing. That was a great share.
That's the goal. You know, that is the goal here, is to, you know, just.
That's such a weird share. And I don't doubt for a second that there's a stronger connection between you. Did she say, again, a Mandela effect, this one, Pappy? Not
Papair.
Pappy.
Papair? That's what she said. That's like a French way of saying grandfather, I believe.
I love the love that she shows for that, just knowing that was a part of it and something
that's a nice story. You know, that was the same thing I had, and I'm Jamie, you're gonna ruin it.
The flannel pants.
Yeah, like I've told this story a million times, but
the man in the flannel
that
pants.
was, I had never met my grandfather, and I had lots of imaginary friends. You guys, if you can believe it, I had many imaginary friends as a kid. I would be walking in the woods just talking to my friends by myself. But I was, of course, just always talking to my imaginary friends, and my mom would be like, "Who are you talking to?" And I'd be like, "Oh, it's the man in the flannel pants." And I would like try and describe what he was wearing. And my mom was like, her dad, my grandfather, wore flannel pants like every day to work.
Man in the flannel pants.
Weird, right? Very weird. But yeah, we love the spooky. And again, like as this comes towards October, like I have so many too that I have saved up. This is the one thing about, anyways, this is my own issue to go through, but like trying to like sort them all, you know, like in certain segments. Anyways, that was again, thank you so much for your nice words.
That was a wonder. That was awesome. Like that's a sad, the story's so sad, but I think we avoided the sad part because she told it in such a positive way.
Yeah.
She
was
nice.
So he's watching over you. He's
happy
always
to
with
share
you.
That. Yeah.
Oh, it's nice. All right. This one, I would love your thoughts on, James. I think you would enjoy this
Didn't love my thoughts on the last one.
Here we go.
Hi, Sam and James. So I just finished listening to the pod from this week, and the girl from the gynecologist who like just made that weird comment and then never explained. So bizarre. So I am a medical assistant, and I used to work in urology, and we did a lot of vasectomies. And I worked with this one doctor every Friday, and he was really quick, really particular. Like, you had to know what instrument he was thinking of before he thought it. And in the beginning, I mean, I was so nervous, and I would like hand him the wrong instrument, or like one time, like, I don't know, like he needed me to like snip the thread, and I was just like, like so afraid that I was going to cut something else. And I had said like, oh, whoops, or I'm sorry. And come to find out, like, we walk out of the room and he's like, you cannot make comments like that. That just scared the shit out of the patient, saying, I'm sorry. He's laying on the table with his, like, stuff out. And I'm like, oh, shit. But, yeah.
So, also, for most, like, vasectomies, too, I'm pretty sure you're awake. Like, obviously, you're numb in that area, right? So, I think that's why she was like...
I think so.
Yeah, especially for, like...
I don't even know on that one.
But
I don't know if they give you a choice, too.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't
Anyway.
know. I don't know. But if you're, like... So, you say you're on the table. They have to do some procedure on your wiener. And then you hear the medical assistant go, ooh, shit, sorry. What would you do?
I mean, I'm going to ask a question. If I'm awake, conscious enough, be like, can you give me a play? But
Yeah,
like,
be
what's
like,
going on down there?
What are you sorry about?
Why don't we talk about this?
Did you cut off my wiener cap? Maybe she's just cleaning the wiener. But like, that is kind of funny that, like, again, like,
Absolutely hilarious.
yeah, if like, and I'm sure like it wasn't anything bad, like,
and
nothing happened to the guy.
She
but
explained it. She's nervous.
Yeah.
This very regimented. Surgeons are extremely regimented. Like,
Yes,
everything
yes.
has to be almost subconscious for them, because they have to think about so many other things.
Totally.
It's got to be in order.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but then also there is the idea of bedside manner. And if a patient is even partially awake and you've got them cut open anywhere, I don't even care if it's my wiener or my toe. Like, if I hear oops and you're doing
oops,
like
sorry.
on my big toe, same questions, just less stress for me, but same questions. What's going on down there?
No, that cracked me up, because that would be one of those things. I was thinking too. Yeah, if I'm doing like a gynecology exam, and like anything where a doctor or like someone who's doing work on you says, "Oops, sorry."
Like,
it's like,
yes, I do not care if you could be. I don't care if it's a dentist.
Right. Yeah, no matter what it is. Oops, sorry. That's hilarious. I just feel like that would be like, you hear that in like a movie. But I'm glad at least, he's okay and it wasn't anything, but it's just funny that's a silly story. Yeah, any other like nurses? I mean, obviously there's HIPAA violations, but like, if there's anything like a weird something that happened to a patient. Actually, I don't want to know. No, I don't want to know. Don't tell me. But I just love, like, I'm sure, I know we have a lot of nurses out there, and I know you guys have sent in a lot of like things you found in like patients' buttholes and stuff. But any other like any medical people with some weird stories, or if were you the man? Have you ever been laying on a table and someone said, "Whoops, sorry"? Let us know. Call in. Just because we are running a little behind. And I'm trying to end it right over an hour.
Yeah, let's let the people go back about their day.
I mean, you guys let me know. Like, I'm trying to just make it like around an hour. I feel like an hour is a good amount of time.
I think no more than an hour.
So, oh, really? James says. Well, we'll let the people talk. Okay. But let us know
about them.
Right. Well, if you have a secret, call in to speakpipe.com/weird-and-proud-pod. Send us in a secret. And again, I'm going to, we're playing around with things. We're playing around, but I'm going to try and keep it around an hour, just because that always seems to be the sweet spot for most people. And if I keep getting an influx of secrets that I feel like need a little extra time,
we'll cut
maybe
down
we'll
on
do.
the other stuff. We'll just do
Right,
more
right.
secrets.
I know we got a little chatty today, but hopefully it was worth it. Hopefully you like the topics. Let us know what you thought of this episode. Comment below. Send us a message. Curious if any of you guys have heard or like dug in on any of these rabbit holes, and if there's any other rabbit holes that you think I haven't gone down, or you recommend. Send us messages. Call it in.
Holes.
Yeah, if there's like a rabbit hole.
Well, also James's Science Corner. I love recommendations.
Yeah. Anything you want us to do a little research on, let us know. Call in, send us a message.
We will
comment.
Discuss and give perspective.
Yes, we will. But again, make sure you get tickets to the shows coming up. And we love you guys so much. James, anything you want to say to the people?
And if you give us suggestions, you can listen to me crush Sam's dreams with science.
Yes, every day. Yep. Which he loves to do.
No,
I mean, like you like to crush my supernatural dreams. You mean I'm not like my me?
Well, that's what I mean, but I don't necessarily love doing it. It's just
no, you do. You
it
take
needs
pride.
to be done.
No, you take.
I don't do it for me.
Enjoy it.
I do it for the world.
Sure. All right. We love you guys so much. Hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Love you,
weirdlings.
Love you, weirdlings. Bye.